everyone, welcome back to another video. So today we did get some really good information from some previous interviews with Yoshida for patch 5.3. Now this isn't part of the letter of the producer. It's not supposed to come out until next Wednesday, where hopefully we're going to be getting some more information. And what this is just kind of summing up all the information that we have so far, including minor spoilers for Shadowbringers up to patch 5.2. So if you are interested in seeing any of these recent interview sources, these are going to be down in the description below. You can check those out. And I just created these bullet points just letting you know exactly what's going to be waiting for us. So without further ado, here's the information that we have so far for the upcoming patch of 5.3. Now, we'll start off with what we learned of the main scenario related questline. So for patch 5.3, it is the conclusion for the Shadowbringers story. And they did say that the volume of cutscenes and voices for this patch is by far the largest that they've had for a single patch release, so it's bound to be really big. Yoshi P did say that it is supposed to be about the length of a movie, and I think a good movie would be around maybe 90 minutes to around 3 hours, so that's going to be like somewhere within that time frame for at least the cutscenes. Now, they also added that we have to pay very close attention to Elidibus. I think that was a given. And there's also quite a large amount of conversations that may contain hints on later developments. It wasn't immediately obvious depending on the timing. But patch 5.3, they said, will resolve about 99% of the story from Shadowbringers. And while it seems unlikely to have anything left over for patches 5.4 and beyond, they are still going to have some things there. Also, there's not going to be a resolution to either Zodiark or Hydaelyn yet, as well as to what's going to happen to them or even how they came to be, I suppose. But they did promise a few things, one of which is that we are now finally heading into the conclusion portion for Hydaelyn and Zodiark. I do think that they mentioned before that expansion 6.0 is really going to be the final expansion where we talk about Hydaelyn and Zodiark, and that's when we're going to be wrapping up the story there. But that's going to be part one. I do think that they have other expansions planned later on, which are going to be leading up into completely different stories. I'm really looking forward to that one because as much as I love the story, it is starting to get a little bit old with both Hydaelyn and Zodiark. So as much as I love it, I am looking forward to seeing an ending and then starting a whole new chapter. So yes, we will be heading towards and finally stepping into the conclusion portion of both Hydaelyn and Zodiark's arc. And another thing that we can be expecting is that they said that it's going to be a pinch of, oh wow, looks like things are getting real bad elements written in once patch 5.3 stories ends. So I think that what they mean is at the ending of patch 5.3, we're probably going to be getting a cutscene that's going to be kind of starting to shape things up for the next expansion, and we're going to start seeing some really bad things waiting in our future. It does make sense because we did learn that we're also going to be getting a kind of new direction that Garlemald is going to be heading towards in patch 5.3 as well. So to sum it up, we have to pay close attention to Elidibus because he's going to be probably at the very center of all this madness. And it's probably going to be a very long, very detailed lore bomb that's going to be dropping on our heads for this patch. And pretty much all the questions that we've had up till now are probably going to be answered. Maybe not exactly 100%, but very close to it. And also we're going to be learning about what's going to be happening in both Garlemald at the end of patch 5.3 and where we can be expecting that's going to head to, and we're going to be setting things up for the final story or like the final portion of the story with Hydaelyn and Zodiark. Moving on to the Dark Apocalypse. So they did say here for the Dark Apocalypse there are going to be much more details with the Nier elements for the continuation, and the quote that they used is that they're going to be expecting players to wonder, aren't we approaching the Nier Automata territory already? So it looks like we're going to be heading into that interesting area. And the equipments for this tier are hinted by Yoshida to be ones that you've seen in the promotional image. And if you don't remember that, this is what it is right here, where we have the shadowy figures with 2P faces. Now, they haven't given us too much information yet about what kind of gear we can be expecting. But they did say that there's going to be no equipment rewards where everyone will need to roll for this time, just like how we got the 2B dress style rewards from the copied factory. We're not going to be having anything like that here. Instead, we're going to be having the equipment rewards for this tier done with the supervision of the Nier team, with the design that Final Fantasy XIV kind of worked together to create. So apparently they are taking a lot of inspiration from the Nier team, but they're also going to be adding like a little twist from Final Fantasy XIV just to make it maybe a little bit more original but still keeping with the design. The equipment design for the third entry of the Dark Apocalypse is already done, they said, and it's currently entering production. And the good news is that the dev teams aim to create those equipment to have more variation and pattern based on the Nier's lore. So that's really going to be nice. So far I found the story maybe not as exciting as I was kind of expecting it to be, like from the copied factory. I enjoyed it okay, but I'm really expecting something pretty special with this next patch. As for the trial that we're expecting for patch 5.3, they had nothing to say about it. It's nothing whatsoever. So it's going to be a secret until the patch is released. However, they did say that in the extreme version there's going to be rewards, which are going to be weapons, which are probably going to look really cool. The next thing they did talk about though was the Unreal Trials and the Faux Hollows. Now the mechanics remain pretty much the same as they were when they were first released. The only difference though is that the damage scaling and their HP for the bosses are adjusted to fit the level 80 standard, and they aim to make it feel like the same when you first fought them. So basically you are still going to be a level 80 when you enter them, but they just kind of upgraded it so that it's going to feel like the first time that you fought them. So it's the same mechanics, it looks like, it's probably the same appearance that they're going to be getting, so it's not like the Savage mode where we kind of get like an updated version of like the final boss there, which is a shame. I was kind of hoping for that. But yeah, so it's going to be kind of a nostalgic little walk down memory lane, I suppose. Titan Unreal was initially planned to be included for this patch, but if they release it too early, it will end up traumatizing the players like what happened way back then. For those of you newer players who don't remember it, before Heaven's Ward came out, Titan Extreme was a bleeding nightmare. An absolute horrible experience. And when they say that players were traumatized by Titan Extreme, they're not kidding around. Believe me, it was a horrible time to be fighting against Titan. Very bad for everyone. I still remember the painful memories of trying to fight Titan Extreme in those days. So, probably a wise idea that they did not add Titan in, at least not this early. So, I guess that's going to be kind of hard to play through it again if we don't want to kind of relive all that pain. But hey, if there's one thing that gamers love, it's love putting themselves through hours and hours of pain and suffering. As for the rewards for this, they mentioned that rewards are going to be obtained through the rights to play the Faux Hollow minigame. And this is a special minigame where they will have a mount and a minion as the rewards. I'm not sure if that means that we're going to be getting kind of like the ponies again. I mean, I don't really think there's much point because practically everyone can get the ponies now. I do think that these are going to be kind of maybe upgraded versions of the pony mounts and maybe upgraded versions of the minions. That's kind of what I'm expecting anyway. They also mentioned that they know that you eventually end up getting bored if you have to repeat the same routine every week. Therefore, the bosses are going to be swapped out after each patch. So basically, we're starting off with just Shiva, but by the time that patch 5.4 comes out, Shiva's going to be gone and they're going to be having a completely different primal to take her place, and then we get to play around with that for a while, and then they're just going to keep cycling through until, I don't know, maybe they'll have a time where they'll have all of them all up together at one point. I don't know. That's certainly something to think about though. Next up, we have some information on the Chronicles of a New Era, the Sorrow of Wylert. Unfortunately, there is not going to be an 8-man trial for this patch. There's instead going to be a specialized battle content for this, so kind of like a instance duty, much like how we had from the War in Triad and the Four Lords. But apparently this next instance duty is supposed to be huge. They're asking that we need to look forward to it, and it's described as a content that contained all of our dreams of a man of the era. Not sure what that means. I do know that some people are expecting kind of like the new pictures that we've been getting to be the ruby weapon. I'm sorry everyone, that thing does not look like the ruby weapon to me. I really do not think we'll be getting the ruby weapon in this patch. Most likely be getting it in patch 5.4. So this is kind of like, I really don't know. I mean, I've seen the pictures, so it kind of looks like an upgraded version of the Ultima weapon that we faced before. So kind of like the Ultimate Weapon 2.0, I'm guessing. So I don't know what that's all going to be about yet. I know some people have said that because it looks like we have the Ironworks colors mixed in, that maybe the Ironworks kind of built it as a way to kind of combat the weapons that are coming to Eorzea. I don't think that's the case because Cid would never have allowed that. He's not the type of man who would want to build like a weapon or something, but that's just what I think. They also talked about the Ishgardian restoration, and that's not going to be coming out right away. It's not scheduled to be released until patch 5.31, which is around 3 to 4 weeks after patch 5.3. But they do have the ranking period specifics, and they're going to be the same as before, so they last around 10 days each. The rewards are going to be titles, but they're different from the previous ones that we've earned so far. And scoring top ranking for the second ranking period will net you the reward from that specific timeline. So basically what that means is that those who come in first from the ranking system, they get the new titles, and if you just by chance miss out and you end up in second place, you'll be getting the titles that you earned from the first patch. They also did a lot of discussion on the Save the Queen and the Southern Bozjan front lines, which is called Unforgiven, Unforgotten. So this is scheduled to be released about a month and a half after patch 5.3, so this is going to be part of patch 5.35. So the scale of this is actually larger than when Eureka has started. And the way that I kind of got the impression from this, it's kind of like a combination of Eureka and PvP battles. That's the way that it looked anyway. Basically, you have to have a separate leveling system called the Resistance rank, where you can level up pretty easily through solo, and there's nothing that forces you to have a party for it. So kind of like with Eureka, you go into like this area where you kind of have to level up and then you can unlock quests, but this is supposed to be on a much bigger scale than Eureka was. Whereas Eureka was kind of expecting you to be in like groups, I think, to kind of level up and participate in like all of these battles. Here with the Bozja Frontlines, we don't really necessarily have to have a group, but it is recommended. There are going to be special actions that are specific only to the Southern Bozjan Frontline available for use. Based on the feedback that they get from Eureka, these actions are going to be called the Lost Actions. Also, they did mention that you're going to be having a very specific goal while running around through here, and unlike with Eureka where kind of you had no real place to go except you just had to run out there and just get stronger, fight monsters, and once you level up then you go on to the next series of quests. Here you have a goal, and that's to destroy the enemy's fort. So you get to join both skirmishes and critical engagements, which end with battle reports, and depending on how well you perform you can get more rank points. Both contents will take place within the Southern Bozja, and these trigger all the time. The skirmish side is basically joining an operation, which is kind of like the same system as the Fates, where everyone can freely join in to accumulate battle points, and the rate of it happening is pretty high. So you don't need to worry about waiting around for a long time waiting for something to happen. These happen like maybe almost one after the other. Now, critical engagement, they said, is a new type of event battle that is developed specifically for the Southern Bozjan frontlines. There are conditions that you have to trigger, and it's mostly about the Garlean Empire launching an assault at you and your allies. You can queue for it anywhere within the area, and players will be selected randomly by the system if the minimum capacity to join the content is reached. So basically, not everyone can participate at once. There's going to be kind of like a limits of how many people can join, so I guess it's kind of first come first serve. There are items that you can obtain from them that grant you the priority to join in the content, and players who contribute to the item obtained within the party will be given priority to enter as well. So these are items where if you use them, then it's automatically you get to participate in this little battle arena, and yeah, it's kind of like getting a free pass, I suppose, so you got to keep your eye out on that. Once all the conditions are met, the groups will then be brought into the instance and conduct a battle from there. What kind of objectives that those are, they can range anywhere from destroy the large type weapon to defeat the large scale army. And they said that just think of it as like a boss battle content that requires 24 to 48 players to gather and defeat. There is also a bonus content that if you score an excellent result in this critical engagement event battle, you get to initiate a one-on-one duel with the enemy general. Do note that only one will get to participate in this, so Yoshi P described that as rather than say one-man savage, it's more of a one-man ultimate. So yes, so if you go in there, it is going to be a tough fight. So that's like going in there and fighting against Bahamut's ultimate or like Alexander ultimate all on your own, so good luck with that. Since it is a one-on-one battle, other players can only cheer from the sidelines. The one-on-one duel may be easy for players who are extremely battle-oriented, but that's kind of a stretch, they said. The Baldesion Arsenal equivalent large-scale content will be implemented on patch 5.4, so like how we had the Baldesion Arsenal added later on in Stormblood, they're going to be adding much more to it later on, including kind of a battle arena like the Baldesion Arsenal. After listening to so many opinions from the players, the dev team has decided to try to create a system that's a little bit easier to get in, much more accessible, and there will be 2 difficulties planned for the content. The content doesn't require much pre-preparation, but it is large as a large-scale content where everyone gets to participate. Now, as for the resistance weapons themselves, there are going to be quests that you have to do if you want to upgrade them, and you can upgrade them purely by going through quests from the beginning. So there are 2 methods to upgrade your weapons. You can upgrade them purely going through the story quests, as we mentioned before, or you can do the skirmishes and obtain the necessary items from there too. How it works is that the necessary items to upgrade your weapon and the conditions will be presented to you. You can also obtain these items from outside the Southern Boja areas as well. However, when the interviewer asks if the item obtained is something like going through Ultima light farming, Yoshi P answered, "We can't tell you anything for now, but probably something similar." So for the Ultima light farming, that was another very painful memory. Many countless hours of doing both fates and then powerful monsters. It can be tricky, but they make you work for these items. They make you work for getting like these really powerful badass items, and you can't really blame them for that. But basically, they did say that since these items can be obtained through outside the Southern Boja, you can be free to raise your weapon at your own pace. But they don't have any elements involved for the Southern Boja, and that's pretty much all that we know so far about it. It does sound pretty intense, so an upgraded version of Eureka from the sounds of it. Now, as for gathering and crafting updates, they've been doing a lot of crafting and gathering updates recently, and this is no different. And we do have some new item-related information, including some new umbrellas. As of right now in the game, we have 2 different types of umbrella, kind of the sky blue and the black version. And those are obtained through the Ishgardian Restoration. And they're going to be continuing on with that, where you can still obtain these 8 new umbrellas. Yes, that's right, they said 8. Which are going to be obtainable through Ishgardian Restoration and the Southern Boja Frontlines. And some of the umbrellas they are showing are going to be kind of Japanese themed, so you can imagine how nice that's going to look. They're going to be having Sky Steel tools upgraded, and that's going to be implemented in patch 5.35 around the same time as the Boja Frontlines. They have new Crafter and Gatherer equipment, which is going to be implemented for patch 5.3, which is purely just a level increase. However, at the release of patch 5.3, they're going to be having equipment that will be superior to the Sky Steel tools, at least until the Sky Steel tools will get their upgrade. There's also going to be a new category called fashion items, and these new items are going to be special attachments that are going to be added, like how the new umbrellas are implemented, and these are still going to be kind of in the planning stages, but they did give an example where you get to hug a teddy bear while you're walking. So this is meant to be a new system made for role players to really enjoy. They did mention a little bit more about the new Beast Tribe quest, which is going to be the dwarfs. Not really too much more, except that there will be a mount in the rewards and that the quests are going to be mostly done through Lakeland. And that does look like just about all the information that we did get for what we can be expecting for 5.3. Most of the rest of it was really talking about how the dev team had everything being set up at home, about how difficult it was, and how they are currently working through that. They're doing their best to try to make up for lost time. Currently, the development speed is running to around 90 to 95% compared to the development speed in the office, so the schedule for patch update now returned to its normal pace, but Yoshi P cannot deny that the process to set up working from home did take a lot of time to realize, and again, that is to be expected. It kind of set everybody back. And they also did mention, sadly, that because of everything that happened here, because of the situation, this will also delay the release for the next expansion as well. But they did promise that they did get their schedule remade. So the delay will be a few months at best, and it will not take up to 6 months or a year. So while we will be waiting maybe a month or two after like what we would be normally expecting for the next expansion, it will not take more than 6 months, they said. So at least that's one little comfort to take from this. They did mention the Fan Fest, and while unfortunately they did have to cancel it for North America, there is no saying that the Japanese and the European fan festivals will proceed as scheduled. There will be updates to this during mid-July, so we should be expecting at least an update about whether or not they will be keeping it on the same dates or if they're going to be postponing it for a certain amount of time. But they will keep us updated, and they did talk about that maybe this time they would have an online-only fan festival, and that's pretty much up for consideration. The next ultimate difficulty is already under production. There is currently another huge thing under development right now. They didn't really go into much details about that, but the dev teams are taking the whole stance of let's get them done quickly so that we can rest in ease right now because they don't want anything that affects their future plans. Okay, so they're kind of just want to get this next battle of Ultimates out of the way so that they can make room for something that's even bigger. Can't wait for that. Also, there have been some requests about rerunning the Final Fantasy XV collaboration event, so that the team is thinking about maybe it would be a good idea to have the return of Final Fantasy XIV's collaboration with Final Fantasy XV. And for those of you who don't really remember that, this means that you'll be getting a car if that does come back to Eorzea. And the dev team did mention that they think it might be a good idea, but this will require some time to figure out when best to post it because there are some other seasonal events underway too. Yes, so if I remember correctly, we still have the Rising event as well as the Moonfire Fair. Those are supposed to be scheduled to be coming out at least at the end of this month, maybe at the beginning of next month. So I guess that's pretty much all that we know for now. I'm really happy about the interviews that we've heard, and I'm looking forward to seeing what else that we're going to be getting from this. I want to thank everyone for watching and for helping to support this channel. It really means a lot to me. I really can't wait to see what they have planned. It's just, this is a long time coming, and I can't wait. It's almost here. I mean, I know we still have about a month, well, less than a month right now, to expect 5.3 to come out, and I can't wait. It's going to be fantastic. I can't wait to see what they have planned. I can't wait to see the continuing story. I can't wait for my friends to finally come back online. I don't know about you guys, but my friends have not been around for a long time here on Final Fantasy XIV, and I'm really starting to get lonely. So if you happen to be online and you happen to come over to the Lamia server, drop me a link. I would love to meet you. Anyway, that's going to be it for now. Thank you all so much for watching. It means so much to me. I will be posting more news as it goes on and we get closer to patch 5.3. But until next time, everyone, take care, stay healthy, and have a good time. Bye!